Hey, this is Dave with OC Astronomy. Many of you are familiar or have seen my the dome video of the Nexdome having a problem where it blew off. But I wanted to show I have kind of an unusual install, and the fault was definitely not Nexdome's. But I wanted to show you how I have it installed on skyshed pod walls. And at the risk of, making a fool of myself, I'll at least put it out there to show you how I did it. Feel free to criticize. I know it's probably not, 100% the best way to do things. We were trying to save a little bit of money on the pod structure, and our budget's very limited. So I had to do what I had to do, where there's a will, there's a way. The way I treated it is the pod walls could have just been any structure, a garage, a shed, any kind of structure where you wanted to put a dome on it. And so I just provided, I'm providing a flat, stable base for it. And then I put the Nexdome wheel kit. And then again, this wheel kit is designed to fit on any circular opening that you're going to put a Nexdome on. And so that was my philosophy. I just treated the skyshed pod as a structure. The reason why I did this is it can fit, the Nexdome dome can fit over the top of the skyshed pod wheels and use the inline skate wheels that it has for the wheels. But my pod was kind of older and it had been sitting up on the roof for a long time, and so it was a little bit warped and a little bit out of round, and I could have tried to maybe shape the pod wall a little bit if I loosened the brackets and tried to get the pod wall to be more in round where it wouldn't rub, but I was getting a lot of rubbing. And so I just thought if I provided this stable base for it and put the Nexdome wheels on it, that it will rotate smoothly, and so far that's what it's been doing. So without further ado, I'll show you what's up. First off, the installs, what I did here is I put some metal brackets and spaced them around, and I have them alternating on the inside and outside of the wall, and so it kind of staggers and lines the wall. I lined those up first to help me as a guide to setting it down right. The plywood ring itself I cut out of exterior decking or wall material. It may not be the best choice, but it's what I had in the shop, and it's plywood that's been treated, and I also painted it on the inside and outside. I painted it white with some exterior grade paint, like you'd paint a deck with or something like that. So it's sealed up pretty well. I'll show you one area over here. I did get a little bit of water coming in from where water was pooled on the outside, and it kind of fattened up this board. I guess it's kind of an exterior grade particle board. It's not, it's not solid wood. It is a particle thing, but and again, this may not be the best choice, but it's what I had at the time, and I may have to replace it in the future. But right now, it's not rotting. It's very, very stable and very tough. I mean, I can try to wiggle any part of this, and it's not budging. So I put these spacers there on the inside and outside, these L brackets, and I screwed them up to the wood and then to this. And then once I had those in place and I had the ring in place, then I drilled down through the plywood, drilled down through it and put a big, heavy-duty, really long lag screw in. And the lag screw goes down into the interior of the walls. I tried to hit the middle of the wall each time, and it goes pretty deep in there. And these walls are foam filled, and so the foam actually served to help grab that screw. And so those lag screws, I put a whole bunch of them in there, all the way around the surface of the plywood. Then on top, once that was there, I filled any gaps with this gap filler foam so that there's no wiggle room at all, and it's really stable. And that got the mating surface to be a nice flat circle. And I used the guidelines for the wheel kit for the interior and exterior dimensions of the circle for the plywood. Then I put the wheel kit on there, And it just is really simple. It just screws down into the plywood, and it's a piece of cake. I did have to kind of shape it a little bit. I actually put the wheel kit on there and then put the dome top on it so that the wheels would be centered, and I did it until I could spin the dome without any friction on it, without the gear track on the inside lip of the dome. I made sure I could spin it really easily and found any spots where it might be out around or rubbing, and then I tightened down these interior ones, and I tightened down the bolts for the wheels once I knew that it was in a true circle and then it wasn't going to give me any problems. I did have to make a modification for the charger points, because the spacing between where the stock charger points are and the bracket that came with the charger was off. So I just had to make a little standoff here to put that on. And then I also added a couple of little these little extenders here. These charge points are round, and if it's not exactly hitting those round points with a magnetic clasp, then it's not going to charge. So I put those on there, and it gives me a little bit of wiggle room back and forth to be off if my homing is off. So if I don't have it, if it's not perfectly homed, those magnets will still connect where those metal brackets are. And then I had to make another modification over here. Sorry, I have a blanket on this motor because if it gets really cold, if it gets below zero, the motor board can stop working. I have a previous generation of the motor board. I think on the new ones they might have fixed it, but the older generation was susceptible a little bit to cold temps. But I have this little blanket on here, and it's connected to a outlet that only comes on if the temperature falls below freezing. So it's an outlet that you use for wells and pumps, and it only will turn on this electric blanket if it gets below freezing. And it's done the job, and it's kept it going. But anyway, I had to make a little cutout here from where I installed the motor kit. You can see I had to cut into the wall there. So after I got the motor correctly spaced for the wheel here, and after I got the charger working over here with the right spacing, and then got the gear track installed, it runs really smooth. It's really stable. I did not install the strap for the pod to keep it from blowing off in cold weather. I mean, not cold, in windy weather. And normally it isn't a problem. It was only because I opened the door without realizing it, and it blew the top off because it was loose because of the wind. It was only because of the really, really, really high winds. It was like a constant 45-mile-an-hour high wind and a gust of like 80, and the gust just happened to hit whenever I opened the door. So normally, I mean, if you're gonna have to do this, I'm actually making this video and showing this because there was somebody that contacted me on YouTube and wanted to see it, and so I realized this may not be a textbook install. I understand that, you know, I may make mistakes, I may not be perfect, but it's at least one way that I got it to work. And so I am going to install the safety straps and make sure that in the future, if the wind is blowing, I'm just not going to open the door, but I may come up here and put a safety strap down if the wind gets super high. Again, I haven't had any issue with it blowing off or blowing away or anything, except that night that I came up and opened the door, and that led to the problem. So I totally don't blame Nexdome. Nexdome has been very good helping me out with this issue. They expedited the return of or the shipment of the panels, and so I really credit Nexdome and all the help that they've given me. So anyway, that's the repair that I made. That's the install that I made at the risk of, you know, looking like a dummy, but got it to work. So you know, it's like the fail videos that you see of the guy that straps the load on at Home Depot on top of a Nissan Maxima and is driving plywood home. I guess that's me. But sometimes, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, hope this helps somebody out there, and clear skies, everybody.